So we'll go ahead and roll into this. There may be some more people joining as we go. So welcome to today's DNN MVP meeting. It is March 8th, 2018. We appreciate all you guys being here. Let's see. So today's agenda, I'm going to give some ecosystem updates and follow-up items. I'm going to talk about the partner program updates. Ash is going to give some updates on 9.2, which you guys may have some questions around. Then we'll get updates from the ecosystem advisory groups, which it looks like we don't have all the leaders here, but I think, like I said, David and I are in like all of the groups, so we can provide some insight into some of those. Then we'll have, just open session Q&A, and then closed session where, you can talk and it won't be recorded on the playback. So some of my items here. Oh, wow, I got animations going. So welcome. Again, we thank you for being here. I know you guys are, your time is worth a lot. So we appreciate it. DNN Connect. So I do want to give a shout out to DNN Connect. The call for speakers is open now. I think it's been open for a while, but they're now promoting it. The blog about it and some Facebook posts about it. So if you are open to submitting a session, I think you should definitely do that. DNN Corp, Andy Treba is scheduled to speak. Peter Donker also asked me if I would speak, but I told him I didn't know if my interpreter could make the trip with me. So we'll see about that. I think Ash may do a session as well. I'm not sure, but there will be some DNN people there. So big plug for DNN Connect. Submit sessions while you can. And it is in Ireland at the end of May, if you don't know.
Yeah, so Peter Donker has asked me to do a session on how DNN works internally, sort of the engineering process. So I'll speak about that. Do I have to submit a session? Or I guess I have to, right?
Yeah, I don't know. See, I asked Peter about that. I was like, do you want us to submit sessions? And I'm not really sure how it goes.
Oh, because you registered for us, right? Because we didn't register.
Yeah, I did the registration, but that wasn't necessarily the speaking. And whoever's drawing on the screen, if you could maybe draw an avatar for somebody, that would be great. But no, Ash, I don't know. We need to follow up with Peter on that. Okay, so upcoming events, you may not know this, but you should be getting an email about it either today or tomorrow. There is a virtual user conference coming up next week, and these are the quarterly kind of webinars that Andy Treba, the new CEO, hosts. And so I think it's going to be like March 13th. Ash, you probably know more about that than I do.
Yeah.
You want to add anything to that?
We're going to talk about we'll give you in my part about the 9.2. We'll talk about 9.2 and a few things.
Yeah, but I mean, so I'm just letting you guys know there is like a registration page form. I know I'm sending out the link in DNN Digest. So basically, if you don't have the link by Friday in 1 or 2 emails, feel free to reach out. We'll make sure you get it, because I know those are the kind of things that I like to definitely sit in on and watch. And if I'm not able to do it live, I always like to watch
Yeah, so these events are now shorter, like 30 minutes only. So it's not a big time sink for people to come in. So about 25 minutes of talking and about 5 minutes for Q&A. So it's pretty short.
Gotcha. All right, yeah, so we also have a webinar coming up based on performance. So that is with Matt Rutledge. Matt is very active in the ecosystem advisory groups, and I was reading the read-up or write-up for that webinar, and it was saying that he and his group did like a performance audit on their DNN site. I think they specialize in doing like fundraisers, and after the performance audit, they were able to like increase their conversion rates, pretty drastically. So if you're inclined to want to know about DNN performance, that would be a good webinar for you to.
I think Clint, it will be great if you can do some blogs as well on that topic. That'll be really helpful for everybody.
Yeah, we should suggest that to him. And I see Mr. Will Stroll has joined, so thanks, Will, for attending. We have another Southern Fried DNN user group meeting coming up. what is it, next Thursday. It's the same day as Matt's performance webinar, actually, and that is featuring Razor Cart. So Kelly from Razor Cart is going to do a demo on that. And also on this meeting, we have Aderson, hello, Aderson Oliveira, and I'm probably saying his name wrong, but he is targeting to bring the Toronto area DNN user group back from the ashes. Aderson, I'm going to be quiet. What do you want to say?
Okay, I just want to say that we used to have a small group, but active one a few years ago, and I said, hey, maybe it's time to get those peeps together again, and we share, we talk, and we trash, and we discuss, and that's it. That's so. What I foresee as next steps here is really get the first meeting together. Most likely, Clint, it won't be broadcasted, but it will be recorded. So we're gonna get better as we go along. But my intention is to get that group started again, and yeah, that's really it.
Aderson, is that a virtual one or is that a in person?
No, it was in person. It was close to. It was in the east side of Toronto.
Okay.
We used to have 10 to 15 people registered, but the site itself had 70 people. We never had those many, coming to a meeting. But no, it's a presential. It's a face-to-face group meeting.
Yeah, no, that is awesome, Aderson. I know, like, that's music to my ears to hear that somebody's getting user group going up again. We would love it if you would at some point try to live stream it to the greater ecosystem, because that way we can be in the little chat window harassing you from afar, right?
Got it.
But I do want to kind of highlight the fact that, it is kind of a new day within DNN, and Aderson reached out to us at DNN Corp and said, hey, I want to get the user group started up in Toronto. And so we are working with Aderson to send a targeted email campaign to people in the Toronto area. So, in the past, you may feel like, oh, DNN doesn't try to support or, something like that. But I do want to highlight that we are, working with Aderson to try to get people there. I'm giving them a shout out in DNN Digest, but I think that really targeted email may help as well. So I just wanted to kind of mention that.
Thank you, Clint.
Yeah, and so also, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this All Things Open. So I may try to go to their website here. So there is a very large conference. This happens in Raleigh, North Carolina every year. I didn't even know about it until a year or two ago. And this is all about, open source technology. They get some of the, biggest speakers, and it's happening in October of 2018. And so I am going to submit a session. I hope that you guys would, if you're, able to go. So this is the dates here. But they are looking for a lot of different topics. I am going to be focusing on this community topic. But, you guys can see there's just tons of stuff here. So basically my point is, if you're open to it, I think it would be great if we could have some type of DNN representation at this conference. So I just wanted to kind of highlight that. All right. So follow-up. So these are things that you guys have suggested in this meeting and that, we needed to kind of track down and try to do. A couple meetings back, there was the request to get DNN software running on HTTPS. So I submitted a JIRA item for that. And the ticket was getting some activity, and I think they're still researching it. But currently, it is not in place, and I don't have any specific updates on that. I don't know, Ash, do you have any more insight into that?
No. Well, I mean, the insight is that there is no update. Unfortunately, we were kind of, the resource was tied up into some other activity, so
gotcha.
It's a matter of prioritizing it now and getting back to it.
Yep. So still on the table, just not done yet. So the ecosystem points tracking, I said IP because it was the open source contribution that Sean is going to donate, that they're running on hotcakes. Last meeting we kind of brought up the subject, David Poindexter's favorite subject of what is an MVP. and how does one become an MVP, and we try to have the conversation about what is the criteria, and ultimately it's difficult for us to kind of articulate that until we're able to measure the contributions that people are making, and that is on the DNN software site, but also outside of the DNN software site. So areas like GitHub, Stack Overflow, even things like speaking at conferences. So I've been emailing, actually kind of nagging Sean a little bit, and he's been on site, I think, in Boston or something, traveling for work, but he says he's going to get it to me hopefully tomorrow. So once we get that code, then we'll try to get it implemented, and then we can create the criteria, which I've been working in the background to define those like scoreable actions and stuff, but it shouldn't be just what I think it should be, right? It should be what we as a group kind of collectively agree upon. So the update is I'm still waiting, but it should be here soon. In the last meeting, we had the topic of, how does someone contribute something that's open source to DNN, right? We were talking about how prompts got into DNN core, and then with PolyDeploy from Cantaris, being released at DNN Summit. And as you said, you were going to write a blog on the steps to contribute an OSS extension to DNN. Do you have any updates on that?
Yeah, I do have an update. So I do have it in draft, and before I actually go ahead and publish it, I was going to share it with one of the group. I don't know which one, probably the technology group, to get some feedback as to what they feel.
Yeah.
Because I just don't want to go and say that this is how we will do it going forward. I want to get some feedback. And I think the next one up is on me as well. So they're kind of related. And here is the thing, is that I think we what this blog post tells us that we need a group of small group of people looking into these contributions so they can kind of verify and say that this is good to go, right? And then we would have the core people look into it, but we want the first sanity test, a really serious one from the community itself. So Oliver Hines, he did present to us, I think a couple of weeks back, is pretty awesome. But I think we need someone to validate that it's good, right? I don't know who that would be. So that's a little bit hinging upon how we do the blog. But again, regardless, I think we would still want someone to kind of work with him and make sure that it's good.
Yeah, I remember the conversation of like last time when we were looking at Oliver's thing, saying it like maybe he could get with somebody and not necessarily pair program, but like kind of code review, just to like ensure that it's up to whatever standards and that it makes sense before like issuing the pull request. I don't know what the status, if he's gotten with somebody.
No, yeah, and I think it's a little bit hinging upon it. We didn't really. He did participate in some of the technology meetings, I think. I can't remember, but this did not come up. So it's just a matter of we getting the blog done, and then we get him into action. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that content will be very well received or very welcomed by the community, right? Because everybody will want to know, how they can make contributions and what the new process is for submitting, not just like a pull request or a bug fix, but like something that's relatively significant, to the platform.
Right. And if you guys have any ideas here, I do want to pause here for a second and kind of hear out. For example, where do you think Oliver would discuss this? Like, would that be Slack channel? I think we would want these to be possibly public as well. You guys have any suggestions? So, for example, when Oliver starts to work with, for example, Brian Dukes, for example, how do these guys collaborate in public so that others can at least listen in or tune in? You guys have any suggestions?
I think the threads started in the developer workspace there.
Yeah.
And all this kind of hinged from some theming work that we were doing. So I think that conversation should continue there probably.
Like, yeah, but that's not public though, right?
That's true. It can't, but it's not closed either, but anybody can join it. But yeah, you're right. It's not published.
Right, because there's certain other aspects, right? There's some documentation that needs to be updated, right? There's someone has to do a blog as well, right? So all of that is, yeah, those are some of the thoughts that I have in my mind. I put in all of that as a bullet point in my doc that I'm working on, and then as soon as I'm ready, I'll share with people to get some feedback.
Gotcha.
Because we want to have it as open as possible, right? So others can just chime in or just read at least.
Yeah. So did anybody else have any thoughts, that you want to add to that subject about, just the conversation around the topic of like how to submit pull request or, just components to DNN? Don't everybody jump at once.
I guess I would just lean towards having conversations on GitHub as part of pull requests, and being able, and maybe there's we create a pull request template that has a checklist that, says, does this, assuming, if this is a major feature, does this include documentation updates? Does this include a blog post? Does this include tests? Does this include, and then we can work through those together as part of the process of working on a pull request. So like, I would be open towards people opening a pull request with little or no code and just say, hey, let's start discussing this, and then we'll start adding code as we come to an agreement of how this is going to work.
No, yeah, love that idea, Brian. Because the other problem, the other place that you could do, of course, Slack is open, but it's closed as well. You need someone to it could be too noisy for someone just coming in. The Jira also has problem, right? The Jira is we have a free Jira from Atlassian because we're open source that only has 2,000 users, and we got to keep kicking people out, or new persons can't join. Inactive people, we've got to kick them out and things like that. So I'm also thinking that long term we move all of that into GitHub, right? That's there is no restriction there in terms of how many users can do it, and it's a lot more friendlier. So at least the pull request discussion, I don't think we even need to now create a Jira, right? We can do all the discussion there, and just use that.
Yeah, and I like Brian's idea of like, when you come to submit something, especially if it's like, I don't know, a module or a provider or something like that, that you obviously have the code for it, but then you also have like documentation, some type of blog, maybe a wiki, but just like so that you have to have your ducks in a row, even the unit test or whatever it may be. That kind of information, Ash, may be something that you want to include in the blog whenever you get ready to post it, and we may even want to kind of pull it out of the blog and put it somewhere on the site. I mean, if we're an open source project, it makes sense, at least to me, maybe in a developer section for a section of content like, okay, how do I actually contribute to this, right? Don't make people go looking for a blog. We can actually list it on the website. And that, again, may tie into some of the things that Stroll and his crew are doing in the awareness group. So I just think we need to be very, very transparent on how we communicate that information. And I think everybody here would probably agree with that. So thanks for that info, Brian. Another thing that I failed to list in my bullet points here, but I will bring up, is this website called connect-koi.net. Now this is just a small pull request in comparison, and this is something Daniel Metler and team created, trying to get harmony across CSS frameworks. And that is like, if your theme is loading Bootstrap and then your module is loading Bootstrap, you shouldn't do it twice, or maybe there are conflicts. I'm not going to try to like go through all the technical details of this. Many of you on this meeting have seen it, but if you haven't, you may want to check it out, because for like a theme designer or developer, you can easily, just include like one line of JSON, and then it's like include koi or something like that, and then you're up and running. But just want to make you guys aware of this existing in case you want to further investigate it. All right. Okay, so partner program updates. So you all are aware that we have an ecosystem advisory group for partners, which David has led, and mainly the bulk of the work for that group was going into shaping the new partner program. And so David did a good job of helping solicit feedback from that group, and we also got feedback from our current partners. We kind of meshed that together along with direction from Andy, and we formed this new partner program. And a lot of the updates in that partner program should be well received by the community. But just to give you guys the status, we had a partner preview webinar on this updated program. I think it was last week. And that was where we presented the new program to the current partners in hopes of getting their feedback in case they just totally, rejected something or said, no, you need to tweak this little bit here. But overall, it was positive. And we are working with a designer on the updated directory. We're currently building out the content types and things like that inside of the main site. And we're awaiting the final design from the designer, and then then we will roll it out. And for current partners, we're going to migrate all that data for them, and obviously we'll be in communications with them during that process. But then we will have an ecosystem-wide webinar about the new partner program, because one of the main things is we're removing the fees to be a partner, so you no longer have to pay to play, so to speak. So I feel like that will cause a lot more people to get active in the partner program. And so there's essentially 3 tiers, and the first 2 tiers, you don't have to sell evoke or anything like that in order to be there. So we're going to have another webinar when we're ready, on the website with the current partners there explaining all the details. So I just want to let y'all know that is going on behind the scenes, and you'll see more of that coming soon. All right, Ash, here's your time to shine. 9.2 update.
Yeah, so I think pretty quick update. So we're looking at releasing that on March 22nd. So is that about 2 weeks from now? So the product is going through testing.
That's Thursday. 2 weeks from today, the Ides of March, or a little bit past that.
Right. So it's currently being tested. There are a couple of bugs that are still to be fixed, but that's what we're targeting about 2 weeks from now. So that's what I wanted to update, just the timeline. I think people have been asking this quite a lot at the Facebook group and other places and whatnot. So just wanted to let you know what I know as of now.
And so that's platform and evoke?
That's platform and evoke, yes.
Okay. All right. Does anybody on this group have questions about that? I mean, I know it's kind of a subject people, ask a lot about. I just want to open it up in case you do have questions. Okay, no questions, just snide remarks in the chat. That's fine. All right, let's see. So ecosystem advisory group updates. Why don't we start with Will Stroll, since he's active in the chat and he's got some good stuff going on in his group.
I don't even know where to start.
I'd say you would point in your camera toward your face instead of that book bag.
Well, that's not an accident. I'm even sitting kind of cockeyed in the chair just so I can have the bags look like it's talking on my behalf.
Oh,
so we just had a meeting, I think a week ago, something like that. And we were not as active the past month because we were all coming off of DNN Summit and kind of recovering from that and whatnot. But we do have a lot of things going on. Probably the most exciting thing is we got 2 folks working together on messaging. So looking at messaging and improvements to the DNN site and creating a proposal to hopefully see these changes deployed. And they're really, really exciting, highlighting. And so in the past, some of the complaints have been about, not highlighting the open source part, or not highlighting community, or not highlighting it enough, or hiding it, or not even, and most recently, like not even highlighting that DNN is a thing. You know, all of a sudden everything is liquid content. And so they've done a really good job of trying to involve all stakeholders in a way that kind of looks organic, right? Where like, okay, I'm probably, if I'm entry level, I'm probably coming here going after, you know, the community edition, or well, wow, I haven't said that in a while, platform, or whatever. So they're really good. One of them is more structural and message based, and the other side of the example is very visual, in terms of, you know, like showing how things can be laid out. And so they're going to be merging those two hopefully within the next month, and hopefully getting a proposal out there. Yeah, so that's probably one of the more exciting things. We've had a ton of videos go out over the last month. You know, some of them are tutorials, some of them were not, but a lot of great activity. Hashtag usage went up a lot over the past month. I don't remember what the stat was on that, but we discussed that during our last meeting, and we published that meeting the same day as well. So if anybody wants to see that, feel free. And we're following the same format in the meeting in terms of recording. The very last part of our meeting, I'm turning off the recording just in case there's anything anybody wants to say off the record or whatnot. One of the things, though, that came out of this is out of this past month is that we're kind of in well, it's probably in the venue for that. I'm gonna leave that one alone. As far as awareness, the other thing is myself, Nick Caliani, Joe Brinkman, Dennis Shao, and an absent Will Morganwick met on Monday at a very nice Italian restaurant. It was delicious, to put our first, to begin our proposal process for DNN Summit coming to San Francisco. So we're working on that right now. So that was fun. Yeah, what else? Am I missing anything, David?
Yeah, well, I know one thing is
Yeah.
you may not have seen John Ballard's mock-up for the awards. Did you see
Oh, I
it?
forgot about that. Yeah. So yeah, that was good. That was good too. Well, was it a mock-up or is it like just an outline? I don't remember.
Yeah, there was a mock-up as well for it.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I forget the details on that one because that one's like a couple weeks old.
No, well, yes, but he updated it very nicely this morning. So, David, why don't you looked at it, right? So why don't you
Yeah.
feedback?
I've got it up on my screen here now. I'll just send the link to everyone.
Well, yeah, you can. Just don't share it publicly yet. I mean, I don't know how secretive he wants to do it. Long story short is he's working on DNN awards. So like site awards, like an annual, you know, you vote and your site wins, I don't know, site of the year in XYZ category. And I think that will be great as far as, you know, raising awareness of DNN. I mean, because if you look at the DNN community showcase lately, we've got some really nice looking sites that people have submitted. And when they submit them, I turn them around and review them, you know, within a day typically. And we've also got an updated design for that I need to get implemented. But anyways, Will, if you check out that awards mock-up, I think it looks pretty good. Is there anything else you want to add to the awareness?
Wow, that mock-up looks good. I forgot. I didn't see that. I just saw the outline before. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else for awareness, although just to make everybody aware, like there's been a lot of activity around DNN Connect. So I think there's with the early birds ending soon or something like that.
Yeah, I think early birds already ended.
Yep, that ended last week.
Oh, and there's a client, you posted something about a call for papers. So like, you know, I'd be remiss if I didn't tell everybody to like, you know, participate. That was it all things open or something like that?
Yeah, I mentioned that. So right now there's 2 call for speakers, DNN Connect and that all things open, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been working on my submission for that all things open. And I will say about that conference, if you look at that and you're like, oh my God, it's like a huge conference, I'll never get accepted. They explicitly state we're looking for seasoned speakers, but also new speakers and people from underrepresented groups. So I think everybody's got a pretty fair shot getting in.
So they're accepting South Carolinians.
Yes, well, it's being held in North Carolina, although a big city, right? So I feel like I could go and not have to move my mouth, just slur my whole session, and people may understand.
Yeah, that's all I got for our group. We're forging ahead, and we're doing pretty good on all of our metrics in terms of our goals that we set for our monthly and quarterly. So, yeah. Oh, another thing about our group, actually, one final thing is one of our group members, he lives in Greece, and he's been having some pretty good traction in terms of trying to get DNN into a local school there. So that's pretty cool in terms of like curriculum.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that is good. And I always like to see his updates because it seems like he's doing some pretty big stuff. I have also been, Stroll, I don't know if I've been posting it, but I've been working with a local high school student who had a project for his IB class, creating a DNN website, and he's actually got to turn it over to his client. I'm going to see if I can get him to present at our user group one night, like co-present. But anyways, he got the site up and running, and he's been rocking and rolling. So it's been interesting to see the challenges that he faced, just getting it installed and stuff like that. But it's good. All right, so partners group, David, I know that the partners group has kind of slowed down since all the feedback for the partner program. Is there anything you want to add?
No, it's really not a whole lot of activity right now. Just a lot of interest in the three areas that we're trying to focus on. I think the immediate interest is, hearing about the launch of the new partner program. So lots of questions about that at this point. So.
Gotcha. All right. So I don't think Peter is here. Let me scroll through. No, I don't see him. And so Sean is not here as well. So, but I do have some updates from the technology group. And I think a lot of people on this group are in the DNN technology group, but there's also some of you who are not. So you can answer this in chat or not, but have any of you watched so the technology group has elected to post their meetings online, as in like a YouTube video after the fact. And we posted the first replay this week. We had a meeting on Tuesday. I posted a video about 2 hours after the meeting. Have any of you watched that meeting or been able to see what was shown at that meeting? Yes, Will, you can has invite to both. So I know that David and I are kind of in the loop on that. Brian Dukes is as well. David, I could turn on my screen and show code. You're probably more sound at, describing what went on. So just to give you all insight. Okay, so some of you are saying you haven't seen it. So what happened was Andrew Heffling gave a presentation on a DNN vNext pathway. Ash, you were on it too. So he showed a DNN vNext solution on .NET Core, but it's like a three-pronged approach. And David, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But one prong here is that, or one element is that he's going to update the current DNN platform, which he's already done on a fork, to accept Razor Pages as a module type. And then he's going to have a SDK, which is based on NuGet, or it uses NuGet to like determine which data access it should use. So essentially you could code a module and it would work in the vNext and in the current DNN. Also, and I'm going to turn on Visual Studio here. I'm going to live on the edge. Let me minimize this, see what we can break. One thing that they did in his group, which I thought was pretty impressive, was that the DNN database being recreated on the fly in Entity Framework Core. So I'm really frying my machine here. Yeah, David, feel free, man. I don't want to mess up what I'm saying.
Oh no, you're doing a good job here. I'll put some extra details in the chat here.
Okay. All right. So what I'm gonna do is, so this is, and let me move this video. This is like Andrew's project, and the first thing that I'll note is you can actually right click and build, and the build will work. Right? It won't break. Now, obviously, this is just like a UI, prototype. It's not nearly anything like DNN. So that, like when you look at this, you'll think, oh, that's DNN, but It's just like the UI and some stuff going on, and it's loading up here. So this is like a visual representation, right? So, when you run ASP.NET Core, you pull it up and you hit this page. So I think everybody knows that, right? You can click to these various pages, but on this demo page, which let me go ahead and wipe those modules out so that you can see this tab modules. There is my tab module. Actually, I could just go. We're gonna live on the edge, guys. Let me select all here so that we can just verify what I'm fixing to try to do. So we'll go delete from tab module. Not using the right database. All right, guys, y'all need to correct me here. Delete from tab module. All right, so we'll do that. Now we'll run that. Okay, so we'll come back here, and these are gone. All right, so, oh, and also we got the little menus, it's all jQuery, trying to look like DNN. But anyways, point being, we click edit, and you see the panes, and add a module, and this is just the simple, so this is the module type that he created, and you can hover and drag and drop, and then if you go to the home page and come back, so the module's still there. So he's actually, persisting some data. And then also, David, I think it's let's see, that's fork, envisionative.com, right? Is that it?
Correct. Yep, that's
Yeah.
correct.
So David, why don't you talk through what this piece is, because I don't want to butcher it.
Yeah, so what's going to be coming up here is currently a forked version of DNN that the MVC pipeline has been essentially rewritten to support a new pipeline for delivering Razor Pages module type. And those module types are built right in ASP.NET Core, by the way. So it is a core implementation within the framework version of DNN platform, right? So same module being able to be run in two different worlds. And I think the big takeaway from this is not that it's, oh, cool, nice shiny new object. It's really that Razor Pages model of development is very similar to the old web forms module development model. So the migration from a web forms based module to a Razor Pages module would be significantly less effort there, because it has kind of the same pattern of a page and a code behind, and so it's really great.
Yeah, appreciate that, David. And so also, like, at the database level, so we'll kind of try to live on the edge here. So let's see, database diagrams. Well, actually, let me just, that might take too long to do. I want to show, I'm going to just delete this VNext database if I can, if it will let me. We will close connections. That was something Will Stroll taught me. Let's see if it's going to allow me to do that. All right, so I just deleted that database. We're going to stop running this. So in this project, you'll notice we've got this data folder. Okay, these are all the classes for. My SQL Server has stopped working and it is restarting. Well, it might blow up my demo. Hold on, it's.
That's what you get for living on the edge there, sir.
Yeah, demo gods. Well, you can see the database is gone, right? So we've got DNN 911 and 742, and we do have the database diagram for 911, which I became very familiar with. But what I want to show is, obviously, there's no VNext database here. And we've got all these classes which represent the DNN database in this data folder. And we've got this DNN DB context file. So what I'm going to do, again, is just run this. And so it's just the same thing we walked through previously, right? So, like, it's trying to spin up the site. But in the background, Entity Framework Core is going to be taking all those classes, which will have the relationships intact, and build them and create a new database, obviously because I deleted the database. And so now if we go back in here and refresh the databases, which I think y'all know that I'm no database guru, we have vNext, which is here. And if we try to create a new database diagram, well, living on the edge again, there we go. So it may take a moment to do this if I try to select all the tables. But the point I'm trying to illustrate is that the diagram for this vNext database, because like all the tables are here. And it, it's happening dynamically on the fly. So obviously I'm frying my machine, but yeah, so you can see the tables. And if we were to do a diagram, you would see that the diagram looks exactly the same pretty much. Now there are some like constraints and things like that it missed, but I do think that it's pretty impressive that you can just spin up the database on the fly. And also feel free to go to let's see, GitHub. So he's got a couple, actually, if we go to the blog, yeah. So if you go to this blog, this is even better. On our site, you can download this code and start doing stuff, right? So we timestamp the video. You can see various sections. And then we've got these repo links. And so, if this interests you, the path to .NET Core, feel free to start digging in it. But I did want to make you guys aware because I think it's pretty bold on Andrew's part, obviously, and it's interesting to see. So anybody got any comments? So, y'all are doing some comments here in the chat room, but I don't know. Ernst Peter, what do you think about that? He's like, oh, I have to unmute now.
Very interesting.
Gotcha.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can hear you. And I probably didn't do it justice, to be honest with you.
No, but that's the entity framework part that will help to generate the database on the fly, which is great.
Yep. And Mitchell Sellers is going to try to tighten up the database a little bit, like some of the things that are not completely accurate. But he made the comment that one of the things Entity Framework did was it made some suggestions for like new indexes that would make the database more performant. So, when you consider if we had a .NET Core solution, but you still have the same underlying DNN database, it's pretty like you wouldn't be lost, going to the next solution. Now, obviously, it's a massive project to undertake. But we've got a lot of passionate community members, you guys here on the meeting. So hopefully we can, get some type of direction going. David, anything else we need to add to that I did not add or that I missed?
Oh, you did a great job.
Thanks. Brian, Duke, Ash, anybody? You smart guys?
Very impressive seeing you doing a demo with Visual Studio in the background and SQL Server Management Studio. Yeah, I'm impressed.
I just remember the clicks, right? Go here, click this. So.
Ernst Peter wants to hire you, Clint.
Oh yeah.
It's always good to have a Southern in your team. I heard some time ago.
Like I say, if Southerners can do it, it's got to be easy, right?
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Well, so with no other comments there, we'll just have the open QA and then we can go to the closed session. So anybody got any topics they'd like to discuss here publicly in the open QA?
I think you missed my chat window that we have a .NET Nuke or DNN NL Netherlands Belgium meeting in Rotterdam in the beginning of April.
Oh, awesome! Yeah, I didn't see that. I wasn't able to. There was a kind of a lot of comments going on, but appreciate that. Ernst Peter, if you will, is there like a link for that? Because I can give that a shout out in DNN Digest if you share any type of.
I think it was posted in the Facebook. I have to find it again.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
I know that Hans Linting posted in the one of the closed groups, but I did not see it in the public group.
But is there like a meetup link or something like that, David?
I don't think so. I think it was just announcing when and where.
Okay.
It was a meeting that was posted on Facebook, so you could share your interest or whether you want to go to the meeting as well.
Gotcha.
It was on the Facebook. Yeah.
So EPT, if you guys want to reach out, I mean, we could do on the DNN Corp side something very similar to what we did with Adderson, right? Like try to email people in your area. So look at us or view us as a resource to.
Yeah. I will ask Hans to give you the information.
Yeah, that would be great. And honestly, we are sending out the DNN Digest tomorrow morning. So in order for me to get that included, I'll need to email the info pretty quickly.
Okay. I try to find him. It's 11 o'clock in the evening here, so it's probably a little bit late to get to him.
No worries. All right. So if there are no other questions for the open session, I will stop recording and we will go to the closed session. Give me just a moment. And if you're tuning in on the internet, thanks for watching the replay.